Inside America's silent prison units, the punishment they never admit exists. The door closed without a bang. That was the first thing everyone noticed later. There was no shouting, no struggle, no alarm. Just a soft metal click, like a lock being tested, and then silence. When the correctional officers finally opened the door again, they did not find a fight. They did not find blood. They did not find a body. They found Daniel Carter sitting on the floor, his back against the wall, his eyes wide open and dry, staring at nothing. "Daniel," the nurse said, stepping closer. "Can you hear me?" Daniel did not move. The light above him was still on. It had been on the whole time. No one could say for how long. The room had no window, no clock, no sound, just white walls, a metal bed bolted to the floor, and long scratch marks running down one side of the wall, as if someone had slowly dragged their fingers there again and again. "How long was he in here?" the nurse asked. The officer at the door looked uncomfortable. I don't know." "You don't know?" she repeated. "There has to be a record." "There isn't," the officer said quietly. "Not for this place." That was the moment the room changed. That was the moment everyone understood this was not normal prison housing. This was not solitary confinement. This was something hidden, something off the books. Daniel Carter was alive, but when they lifted his arm, it fell back down like it did not belong to him anymore. When they said his name again, his eyes did not move. He did not blink. He did not react. It was as if time had stopped inside his head, and the prison would later say this room did not exist. If you think this story is already dark, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment now, because what happens next is exactly what they never want you to hear. Daniel Carter had been healthy when he entered that room. No mental illness. No history of breakdowns. He had argued with a guard 2 days earlier. Nothing more. No violence. No threat. Just words. And now he sat in silence, broken in a place the prison officially denied. This was the punishment they never admit exists. These rooms are called many things by the people who know about them. Quiet units. Control units. Ghost blocks. Places where sound is swallowed and time has no meaning. You are not beaten. You are not tortured in the way people imagine. You are erased slowly. No calendar. No human voice. No darkness. No night. Just endless light and endless quiet. Most inmates never talk about these places. The ones who do are often ignored. The ones who stay too long sometimes come back changed. And some never come back at all. Daniel Carter was one of the unlucky ones. As officers rushed him out on a stretcher, a supervisor arrived and ordered everyone to step back. The door to the silent room was closed again. Locked. The hallway returned to normal prison noise. Radios crackled. Boots echoed. Life went on. But one young officer hesitated before leaving. He looked back at the door and whispered to the nurse. This wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to last that long. The nurse stared at him. "What do you mean, last?" The officer realized what he had said. His face went pale. He shook his head and walked away. That single sentence would later become the most important clue. Because if Daniel Carter wasn't supposed to last that long, then someone knew exactly how long a human mind could survive inside America's silent prison units. And the question everyone would soon be asking was simple, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. How many others had already been inside that room and never made it out the same way? Before we begin, tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us uncover the darkest corners of the prison system. Now let's step inside. The stretcher rolled fast down the hallway, its wheels squeaking against the polished floor. The sound felt too loud, almost rude, in a place that suddenly seemed afraid of noise. Daniel Carter lay flat on his back, strapped in, his eyes wide open and unblinking. Nurse Kelly Harper kept 2 fingers pressed against his wrist. His pulse was steady. His chest rose and fell. His body was alive. But his face looked empty, like someone had turned a switch off inside him. "Daniel," she said softly, leaning closer. "It's Kelly. You're in medical now." "Nothing." Officer Jason Miller walked beside the stretcher, his jaw tight. He was young, still new enough that fear showed on his face when he thought no one was looking. He glanced back once, then again, toward the hallway they had just left, toward the door with no number. "How long was he in there?" Nurse Harper asked, keeping her voice even. Jason swallowed. "I don't know." She frowned. "You escorted him in?" "Yes." "And you don't know how long he was kept there?" Jason lowered his voice. "There's no log for that unit." Nurse Harper stopped walking for half a second. The stretcher jerked slightly before she caught up. "That's not possible," she said. Jason didn't answer. He just kept walking. They pushed the stretcher through the medical doors. As they closed, the normal prison sounds rushed back in. Radios crackled. Boots hit the floor. A guard laughed somewhere down the hall. Life went on, loud and careless, like nothing had happened at all. But something had. An hour later, Nurse Harper sat at her desk typing Daniel's report. The fluorescent lights hummed above her. She typed the basics. Heart rate, blood pressure, no visible injuries, non-responsive. Then she reached the section labeled Location Found. Her fingers hovered over the keys. The prison had words for everything. Segregation, medical hold, suicide watch, administrative housing. Words that sounded clean and official. But none of them fit that room. She typed, then deleted. Typed again, then stopped. She thought about the scratch marks on the wall. The light that never turned off. The silence that felt heavy, like it pressed on your ears. Finally, she wrote the safest lie she could. Temporary housing. She saved the report and leaned back in her chair. Her stomach twisted. She had worked in this prison for 8 years. She had seen fights, overdoses, stabbings. She had never seen a man come back like Daniel Carter. Across town, Rachel Moore stared at her phone. Rachel was a public defender. She defended people no one else wanted to defend. It didn't make her popular, but it made her careful. And right now, her phone was quiet when it shouldn't have been. Daniel Carter was her client. Daniel never missed scheduled calls. Even when they were short. Even when guards rushed him. This week, he had missed 2. Rachel dialed the prison again. East Ridge Correctional Facility, a tired voice answered. "This is Rachel Moore," she said. "I'm calling about inmate Daniel Carter." A pause. Keys clicking. "He's in restricted housing." "What kind of restricted housing?" Rachel asked. "Restricted housing," the voice repeated. Rachel closed her eyes. "Is he in segregation?" Another pause. Longer this time. "I can't give details." "Is he alive?" Rachel asked. The line went quiet for a second too long. "He's in custody," the voice finally said. "That's not an answer," Rachel said sharply. "Ma'am, I have other calls." The line clicked dead. Rachel lowered the phone slowly. Her chest felt tight, like the air had been sucked out of the room. She opened Daniel's file and pulled out the last letter he had sent her. It was short, careful, almost calm. "Something is wrong here. Guys disappear. If anything happens to me, look for the door with no number." She had read it once and set it aside. Now she read it again, slower. This wasn't panic. This was warning. Rachel grabbed her coat and drove straight to the prison. East Ridge rose out of the flat land like a block of concrete pushed into the earth. Fences wrapped around it in layers. Towers stood at the corners, watching everything. Cameras followed her car as she parked. Inside, she showed her ID. "Attorney visit. Daniel Carter." The guard barely looked at her. "He's unavailable." "That's not acceptable," Rachel said. "He has a right to counsel." "He's on restriction." "What restriction?" Rachel asked. "Show me the paperwork." The guard sighed and picked up the phone. He spoke quietly, then pointed to a row of plastic chairs. "Wait." Rachel waited. 10 minutes. 20. Her leg bounced without her noticing. Finally, a man in a clean uniform walked out. His name tag read Scott Lang, Deputy Warden. "Ms. Moore," he said smoothly. "I hear you're concerned." "I am," Rachel said. "I need to see my client." Lang smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. "Mr. Carter had a medical episode." Rachel felt a chill. "What kind of episode?" "Stress-related," Lang said. "He's being monitored." "Where?" Rachel asked. "For security reasons, that information is restricted." Rachel reached into her bag and took out Daniel's letter. She held it up to the glass. "He wrote this 2 days ago." Lang glanced at it, but didn't touch it. "We don't accept documents at the window." "He mentioned a door with no number," Rachel said carefully. Lang's smile twitched. Just slightly. Rachel saw it. "Clear as day." "Let me see him," she said. "Now." Lang leaned closer. His voice dropped. "Be careful," he said. "You're asking questions that don't help anyone." Rachel's voice hardened. "Is that a threat?" "It's advice," Lang replied. "Prisons are dangerous places." He turned and walked away. Rachel stood there for a moment, then left. Outside, the wind cut across the parking lot. Cars passed on the road. People heading home, stopping for dinner, living normal lives. Behind her, something was very wrong. She sat in her car and called Detective Megan Torres. "Megan," Rachel said. "I need help. East Ridge is hiding something." Megan sighed. Rachel, prisons are messy places. They warned me, Rachel said. And Daniel Carter is missing time. Real time. Silence on the line. Then Megan said, send me whatever you have. Rachel sent the letter. Minutes later, Megan replied, meet me tonight. Off the record. That night, they sat in Megan's car outside a diner. Neon lights reflected off the windshield. Megan read the letter slowly, then looked up. I've seen this before, Megan said. Rachel's stomach dropped. Before? Different inmate. Same prison. Same gaps and records, Megan said. She opened her glove box and pulled out a photo. It showed a hallway corner. A gray door. No number. No sign. Just a camera above it. Rachel's heart raced. You knew? I suspected, Megan said. Never had proof. Megan's phone buzzed. She checked it. Her face tightened. Rachel leaned forward. What is it? Megan turned the screen. A message from an unknown number. Stop digging. Another message followed. A photo. Rachel's car in the prison parking lot. Taken from behind her. Close enough that the license plate was clear. Someone had been watching. And whoever controlled the silent units now knew that Rachel Moore was asking the wrong questions. Rachel did not sleep that night. Every sound outside her apartment made her sit up. A car door. Footsteps. A phone buzz. She replayed the photo in her mind again and again. Her car. The angle. The distance. Whoever took it had been close. Close enough to see her face when she got in. Close enough to follow if they wanted. By morning, she was done being scared. She drove to Megan Torres's office just after sunrise. Megan was already there, coffee in hand, eyes tired but sharp. You're early, Megan said. I didn't stop thinking, Rachel replied. About the door. About Daniel. Megan nodded. Me neither. They spread papers across the desk. Daniel's file. Call logs. Housing records with gaps that made no sense. Rachel pointed to dates circled in red. Here, she said. These days don't exist. No housing. No movement. Nothing. Megan traced the circles with her finger. That's the pattern, she said. Same thing with the other case. Rachel leaned forward. Tell me everything. Megan took a breath. 3 months ago, an inmate named Paul Jensen vanished for 4 days. No fights. No write-ups. His mother called, screaming. The prison said he was in custody. When he came back, he was different. How? Rachel asked. He couldn't focus, Megan said. He flinched at noise. He asked what day it was and cried when no one answered. Then he refused to talk. Did he mention a door? Rachel asked. Megan hesitated. He mentioned light, she said. He said it never turned off. Rachel felt a cold knot in her chest. Did you investigate? I tried, Megan said. Every request hit a wall. Rachel straightened. Then we stopped asking the prison. Megan raised an eyebrow. And do what? Rachel slid Daniel's letter across the desk again. We find someone inside, she said. Someone who's scared enough to talk. Megan thought for a moment. I know someone, she said. Officer Jason Miller. Rachel's eyes widened. The escort? Yeah, Megan said. He's new. He's nervous. And last year, he called me anonymously about a use of force incident. Wouldn't give a statement, but he left details. Rachel nodded. He might listen. Megan picked up her phone. I'll try. Jason Miller answered after the third ring. His voice was tight. Detective. It's Megan, she said. I need to talk. In person. There was a pause. I'm on shift. After, Megan said. Neutral place. Another pause. Okay. They met that evening at a quiet gas station on the edge of town. Jason arrived late, scanning the lot before parking. He kept his hands in his jacket pockets and didn't sit down. You said you needed to talk, he said. Megan nodded. About Daniel Carter. Jason's jaw clenched. I can't. You can, Rachel said gently. And you should. Jason looked at her, then away. You don't understand, he said. That place, it's different. Tell us, Megan said. Jason swallowed. There are units they don't list. Corridors they don't name. You don't write times down. You don't write reasons. Rachel leaned forward. Who decides? Jason shook his head. Orders come down, he said. No signatures. No emails. Just words. Megan asked, how long do people stay? Jason's voice dropped. As long as they need. Rachel felt anger rise. Need for what? Jason looked at her. Compliance, he said. Silence. Megan asked the question Rachel couldn't bring herself to ask. Did you take Daniel in? Jason nodded. Yes. Rachel's heart pounded. How long was he there? Jason squeezed his eyes shut. Too long. Why didn't you stop it? Rachel asked. Jason snapped his eyes open. Because the last guy who asked questions got transferred, he said. Not to another facility. To a unit where no one hears you. Silence hung between them. Megan broke it. We need proof. Jason hesitated. There are cameras, he said. But footage disappears. Not all of it, Megan said. Someone took a photo of the door. Jason looked surprised. Who? Megan didn't answer. She just said, Can you get us anything? Jason looked around the lot again. I might, he said. But if I do, you keep my name out of it. Rachel nodded. I swear. Jason handed Megan a small folded paper. Maintenance schedules, he said. They tell you which corridors exist. Megan unfolded it. There were handwritten notes, arrows, and a circled area labeled only with a letter. Rachel pointed. That's it, she said. That's the corridor. Jason stepped back. If they find out I talked. They won't, Megan said. We'll move fast. 2 days later, Megan got a call. Torres, she answered. A man spoke quickly. I saw your name on a request, he said. You're asking about the lower corridor. Who is this? Megan asked. Someone who doesn't want his family hurt, the man said. They're wiping records. Tonight. Megan stood. Which records? All of them, the man said. Cameras. Logs. Medical entries. The line went dead. Megan called Rachel immediately. They're cleaning house. Rachel grabbed her keys. Then we go now. They didn't go to the prison. They went to the hospital. Daniel Carter was still there. They found him in a quiet room, curtains drawn. He looked smaller, pale. His eyes tracked slowly now, but his voice was barely there. Daniel, Rachel said softly. It's Rachel. He blinked. Rachel sat close. You're safe, she said. Can you tell me what happened? Daniel's lips moved. A whisper came out. The light. Megan leaned in. What about it? It never stopped, Daniel said. I couldn't tell when to sleep. Rachel's eyes filled. How long were you there? Daniel shook his head. I asked, he said. They said I'd know when it was over. Megan asked, Did anyone talk to you? Daniel swallowed. Sometimes footsteps, he said. Sometimes nothing. Rachel took his hand. Daniel, did anyone else come in? Daniel's eyes widened. Yes, he whispered. One time. Megan's heart jumped. Who? Daniel's voice dropped to almost nothing. A man in a suit, he said. He watched. Rachel and Megan exchanged a look. A suit? Megan asked. Daniel nodded. Not a guard, he said. He smiled. Megan felt a chill. Did he say his name? Daniel closed his eyes. No, he said. But he said this place fixes people. Rachel squeezed Daniel's hand. Did he say when it would end? Daniel opened his eyes and stared at the wall. He said, Daniel whispered, Some people don't need to go back. The door to the room creaked open. A nurse stepped in, tense. You need to leave, she said. Now. Why? Rachel asked. The nurse's voice shook. Security is here. Footsteps filled the hallway. Heavy. Fast. Megan stood. We're done, she said. As they moved toward the door, Megan's phone buzzed again. One message. You were warned. Then the lights in the hallway flickered. And somewhere deep inside East Ridge, a door with no number was being unlocked again. The lights came back on, but the fear stayed. Rachel was on the floor, her arm burning where someone had grabbed her. The carpet scratched her palms as she pushed herself up, her breath coming in short bursts. Her heart felt like it was trying to break out of her chest. Megan stood between her and the door, legs planted wide, shoulders tight. She looked calm, but Rachel could see the tension in her jaw, the way her hands shook just slightly. Across the room, the two uniformed officers stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. Behind them, Evan Cole adjusted his jacket like a man leaving a business meeting, not a dark room where the power had just been cut on purpose. Everyone needs to relax, Cole said. His voice was smooth and steady, like this was all routine. There's been a misunderstanding. Rachel laughed once, sharp and bitter. You cut the power, she said. Someone grabbed me. Cole looked at her with mild concern, like she was confused. No one touched you, he said. You lost your balance. These situations can feel intense. Megan took a step forward. Get out, she said. Her voice was low, controlled, and dangerous. Now. Cole glanced at the officers. They looked at each other, uncertain. One of them cleared his throat. We were told to secure the premises, he said. You've done that, Megan replied. You can leave. For a moment, it felt like the room was holding its breath. Then Cole smiled again. That same calm smile Rachel had seen on the video from the silent unit. "This isn't over," Cole said gently. "It rarely ends well when people hold on to things that don't belong to them." He turned and walked out. The officers followed. The door closed. The lock clicked. Rachel sank into a chair, her legs weak. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew we had the footage." Megan locked the door and leaned against it, rubbing her face. "Yeah," she said. "And now he knows we're serious." They didn't waste time. Megan pulled the backup drive from her desk and slipped it into her jacket pocket. She shut down her computer, unplugged everything, and swept loose papers into a folder. "Take Daniel's letters," Megan said. "And your phone." Rachel nodded, shoving everything into her bag. They left through the back stairwell, moving quietly. Outside, the night felt too open, too exposed. Every passing car made Rachel flinch. They split up at the corner. "Different routes," Megan said. "If something happens, call." Rachel drove home with her hands tied on the wheel, checking her mirrors every few seconds. When she got inside her apartment, she locked the door, then locked it again. She sat on the floor with her back against the couch and tried to slow her breathing. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Instead, she opened her laptop and pulled up an email draft she'd started earlier. The journalist's name stared back at her. She attached the video file. Then another. Then screenshots of the messages. She hovered over the send button. What if this made things worse? She closed the laptop without sending it. Across town, Megan didn't go home. She parked in a grocery store lot under a broken streetlight and sat in her car, phone pressed to her ear. "Torres," she said for the fourth time. "You need to answer." Finally, someone picked up. "Internal Affairs," a tired voice said. "This is Detective Megan Torres," she replied. "I have video evidence of an off-the-books detention unit inside East Ridge. A consultant named Evan Cole is on camera." There was a pause. "Email it," the voice said. Megan did. She sent everything. Then she waited. An hour later, her phone buzzed. "Received. Do not move. We are escalating." Megan let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. For the first time in days, she felt a small piece of hope. It didn't last. Rachel woke up the next morning to pounding on her door. Not knocking. Pounding. Her eyes flew open. For a second, she didn't know where she was. Then it all came rushing back. "Rachel Moore," a voice called. "Police." "Open the door." Her hands shook as she grabbed her phone and called Megan. No answer. The pounding came again, louder. Rachel opened the door slowly. Two officers stood there. They were older than the ones from the night before. Their faces were hard, unreadable. "Ms. Moore," one said, "you need to come with us." "For what?" Rachel asked. "Questioning," he said. "Regarding stolen state property." Rachel laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You mean evidence?" The officer didn't react. "Bring your phone." They drove her to the station in silence. No lights. No sirens. Just quiet streets and tension that pressed in from all sides. They put her in an interview room and left her there. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 30 minutes passed. Then 40. The door opened. Evan Cole walked in. He wasn't wearing a badge. He didn't need one. He closed the door behind him and sat down like he owned the room. "You're not law enforcement," Rachel said, standing up. Cole smiled. "I represent the state," he said, "in ways you don't fully understand." "You kidnapped people," Rachel said. "You destroyed them." Cole folded his hands. "We corrected behavior," he said calmly. "We removed distractions. Noise. Resistance. You erased them," Rachel snapped. Cole leaned forward slightly. "Prisons are full of men who don't respond to rules. The silent units work. No bruises. No blood. Just compliance." Rachel's voice shook. Daniel Carter almost died. Cole's eyes flicked away for a fraction of a second. "That was a timing error," he said. "Timing," Rachel repeated. "Yes," Cole said. "Too long, too fast. Adjustments were needed." Rachel stared at him in disbelief. "You talk about people like machines." Cole smiled faintly. "That's the problem. You see emotion. I see outcomes." He slid a paper across the table. "Sign this. Non-disclosure agreement. Walk away. You keep your career. Your life." Rachel didn't touch it. "No." Cole sighed. "Then you become the problem." Rachel leaned forward. "People are watching now." Cole stood up. "People watch all the time," he said. "They just choose not to see." He left. An hour later, Rachel was released without explanation. Outside, Megan was waiting in her car. Rachel got in and closed the door. They didn't speak for a moment. He tried to scare me, Rachel said finally. Offered a deal. Megan nodded. Internal Affairs called me back. Then went quiet. They drove straight to the hospital. Daniel Carter's room was empty. The bed was stripped. The chart gone. The whiteboard wiped clean. Rachel grabbed a nurse walking by. Where is he? The nurse looked around, then lowered her voice. Transferred. To where? Megan asked. The nurse swallowed. I don't know. Rachel felt the floor tilt. Did he say anything? The nurse hesitated. He asked what day it was. Rachel closed her eyes. Back at East Ridge, Jason Miller stood at his post, staring straight ahead. His radio crackled. Lower corridor, a voice said. Prep complete. Jason's stomach dropped. He knew what that meant. Somewhere deep inside the prison, behind walls without signs and doors without numbers, a light flicked on and stayed on. And Daniel Carter was being walked back inside. Jason Miller stood still at his post, his eyes fixed forward, his hands resting at his sides like he had been trained. On the outside, he looked calm. On the inside, his stomach was twisting into knots. His radio crackled again. Lower corridor, the voice said. Prep complete. Jason swallowed. That phrase was never written down. It never showed up in reports. But everyone who worked long enough knew what it meant. Someone was going back into the silent unit. Jason glanced at the hallway camera above him. The red light blinked once, then stayed steady. Watching. Always watching. He thought of Daniel Carter's face when they had pulled him out last time. The empty eyes. The way his body had gone slack, like he had already given up. Jason felt something hard press against his chest. This time, he wasn't sure Daniel would come back out. Across town, Rachel and Megan sat in Megan's car outside the hospital, staring at the dark windows. They erased him, Rachel said. Her voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. They wiped his room, his chart, like he was never here. Megan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. They're moving him fast, she said. Which means they're scared. Scared of what? Rachel asked. Of us, Megan replied. Of what we have. Rachel shook her head. We have video. We have a name. And it still didn't stop them. Megan reached into her jacket and pulled out the backup drive. It will, she said. But we need the right moment. Rachel looked at her. What if Daniel doesn't have time? Megan didn't answer right away. They drove in silence back to Megan's office. The blinds were still closed. The room smelled like cold coffee and stress. Megan plugged in her laptop and checked her messages. Nothing from Internal Affairs. Rachel paced the room. They're dragging their feet, she said. Or they're compromised. Megan nodded slowly. Which is why we go around them. Rachel stopped pacing. How? Megan opened a new email. We leak it, she said. Not everything. Just enough. Rachel's heart jumped. To who? Someone who can't ignore it, Megan said. A reporter who has burned bridges before. Rachel hesitated. If we do that, there's no going back. Megan met her eyes. There hasn't been a way back since the power went out. Rachel took a breath. Do it. Megan attached the video clip showing Evan Cole leaving the silent unit. She added a short message. No names of officers. No speculation. Just facts. She hit send. At East Ridge, the air in the lower corridor felt heavier than usual. Jason escorted Daniel Carter down the hallway. Daniel walked slowly, his steps uneven, like he wasn't sure the floor was real. Daniel, Jason said quietly. Can you hear me? Daniel nodded once. His eyes were open, but unfocused. Do you know where you are? Jason asked. Daniel's lips moved. The light, he whispered. It doesn't turn off. Jason stopped walking. His chest tightened. Daniel, listen to me, he said. I'm going to help you. Daniel looked at him, confused. They said I needed more time, he said. Jason felt anger rise. Who said that? Daniel swallowed. The man, he said. The one who smiles. Jason knew exactly who he meant. They reached the door with no number. The camera above it tilted slightly, as if adjusting its view. Jason hesitated. His hand hovered near the keypad. Behind him, another officer cleared his throat. Let's go, the officer said. Orders. Jason turned. He shouldn't be here, he said. Medical hasn't cleared him. The officer frowned. That's not our call. Jason's voice shook. It should be. The officer stepped closer. You want to get reassigned? He asked quietly. Jason looked at Daniel. Daniel's hands were shaking. Something inside Jason snapped. I'll log the time, Jason said. Just give me a minute. The officer hesitated, then nodded. 1 minute. Jason leaned close to Daniel. Listen, he whispered. If anyone asks you questions, answer them. Say your name. Say the date. Don't stop talking, even if no one answers. Daniel blinked. Why? Because silence is what they want, Jason said. Don't give it to them. The door opened. Jason guided Daniel inside. The light was already on. Before the door closed, Jason slipped something into Daniel's hand. A folded piece of paper. On it, Jason had written 3 words. Keep talking. Count. The door shut. Jason stepped back, his hands shaking. He knew he had crossed a line, and he knew there was no undoing it. Across town, Rachel's phone buzzed. A message from the reporter. Is this real? Rachel typed back fast. Yes. I have more. The reply came almost instantly. I'm coming to you. Megan looked up. They're biting, she said. Rachel felt hope spark, small but real. Good. But hope didn't last long in this story. Jason returned to his post, trying to act normal. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. His radio crackled again. Lower corridor, the voice said. Status check. Jason's heart pounded. Inmate secured, he replied. A pause. Any issues? Jason swallowed. No. The radio went quiet. Jason stared at the wall, counting his breaths. 1 hour passed. Then another. Suddenly, the hallway lights flickered. Jason's radio came alive with overlapping voices. What's going on down there? Camera feed is unstable. Who authorized this? Jason felt dread crawl up his spine. He took a step toward the silent door. Before he could stop himself, he knocked. No answer. He knocked again, harder. Still nothing. Jason pressed his ear to the door. At first, he heard nothing. Then he heard it. A whisper. 27, 28, 29. Jason's heart leaped. Daniel was counting. Jason stepped back, relief flooding through him. Then the whisper stopped. Jason waited. Nothing. Minutes passed. The silence felt thicker than before. Jason knocked again. Daniel, he whispered. No answer. His radio crackled. Lower corridor, the voice said sharply. Step away from the door. Jason froze. Step away. Now. Jason backed up, his palms sweating. 2 supervisors rounded the corner. One of them was Lieutenant Dorsey. The other wore a suit. Evan Cole. Cole smiled when he saw Jason. Officer Miller, he said. You look tense. Jason clenched his jaw. There's a problem, he said. The inmate. Cole raised a finger. Is being handled. Jason felt heat rush to his face. He was responsive, he said. You can't just. Cole's smile faded. You've done enough, he said. Why don't you take the rest of the day off? Dorsey stepped forward. Hand over your radio, he said. Jason's hands shook as he did. Cole leaned closer. You want to help people? He said softly. This isn't how. Jason wanted to scream. Instead, he nodded. They escorted him away from the corridor. Behind them, the silent door stayed closed. At Megan's office, the reporter arrived breathless. He watched the video twice, then a third time. This is big, he said. Bigger than you think. Rachel nodded. It's still happening, she said. Now. The reporter frowned. You have proof? Rachel hesitated. Not yet, she said. Megan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Back off, or the inmate disappears. Rachel read it, and felt cold spread through her body. They know, she whispered. The reporter looked up. Know what? That Daniel is leverage, Megan said. The reporter stood. Then we publish now. Rachel shook her head. If we do, they might kill him. The reporter's face hardened. If you don't, he said, they definitely will. Megan closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them. Run the story, she said. All of it. The reporter nodded. The story broke at 9:07 p.m. Not with sirens. Not with flashing banners. Just a quiet headline posted online, then shared again. Inside America's silent prison units, the punishment they never admit exists. Rachel watched the numbers climb on the reporter's screen. Hundreds. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Comments poured in. Anger. Shock. Disbelief. Megan stood by the window, phone pressed to her ear, listening to a voice that finally sounded scared. Internal Affairs is mobilizing, the voice said. Federal oversight too. Don't move. Megan hung up and turned to Rachel. They can't put it back in the dark now. Rachel nodded, but her hands were shaking. What about Daniel? At East Ridge, the mood changed fast. Doors slammed. Radios crackled nonstop. Supervisors moved with stiff urgency. Guards whispered in corners, eyes darting to cameras like they were seeing them for the first time. Jason Miller sat in a small office near intake, his badge on the desk in front of him. He had been escorted there and told to wait. No reason given. No questions allowed. A young officer leaned in through the doorway. "They're saying the story is fake," he whispered. "But nobody's laughing." Jason nodded once. His stomach hurt. In the lower corridor, Lieutenant Dorsey stood with Evan Cole near the silent door. Cole's calm smile was gone. "This wasn't supposed to leak," Dorsey said. Cole's jaw tightened. "It shouldn't have." Dorsey glanced at the camera. "What about the inmate?" Cole didn't answer right away. He looked at the door, listening. Nothing came from inside. "We end this cleanly," Cole said. "Bring him out." Dorsey hesitated. "Medical." Cole's eyes flashed. "Now." The door unlocked. Inside, the light buzzed like an angry insect. Daniel Carter sat on the floor, his back against the wall. His lips moved, but no sound came out. His eyes were red and unfocused. A guard stepped forward. "Inmate Carter," he said. "Stand up." Daniel didn't move. The guard reached down to pull him up. Daniel screamed. It was raw and loud and full of pain, like a dam breaking. The sound tore through the corridor and bounced back, shocking everyone who heard it. "What day is it?" Daniel shouted. "What day is it?" Dorsey stepped back, shaken. Cole's face went pale. "Get him out," Cole snapped. They lifted Daniel onto a stretcher and rushed him toward medical, past guards who stared in stunned silence. Jason saw them pass. He stood up. "That's him," he said. "That's Daniel Carter." A supervisor grabbed his arm. "Sit down." Jason shook him off. "He needs help," Jason said. "Not another room." The supervisor hesitated. Then his radio crackled. "All staff," a voice said. "Federal agents are on site." Everything stopped. Black SUVs rolled through the front gate minutes later. Men and women in jackets with letters Jason had only seen on TV stepped out. Cameras followed them. Cole watched from a hallway window as agents moved fast, flashing badges, asking questions that demanded answers. "This isn't over," Cole muttered. At the hospital, Rachel and Megan rushed into Daniel's room just as doctors finished checking him. Daniel looked smaller than ever. Tired. But his eyes focused when he saw Rachel. "You stayed," he said hoarsely. Rachel took his hand. "We stayed." Megan stood at the foot of the bed. "Daniel," she said gently, "can you tell us what happened after you went back in?" Daniel swallowed. "I counted," he said. "I talked. Like he told me." Rachel's chest tightened. "Who?" "The guard," Daniel said. "The one who looked scared." "Jason." Daniel closed his eyes. "The man in the suit came back," he whispered. "He said I failed." Rachel felt anger flare. "Failed what?" "Being quiet," Daniel said. Megan exchanged a look with Rachel. "Daniel," she said, "do you know how long you were inside?" Daniel shook his head. "The light doesn't let you know," he said. "It lies." The door opened. 2 federal agents stepped in. "Ms. Moore," one said. "Detective Torres, we need your statements." Rachel nodded. "We'll tell you everything." Back at East Ridge, Jason was escorted into an interview room. A federal agent sat across from him. "You're Officer Jason Miller," the agent said. "We want to hear about the silent unit." Jason took a deep breath. "It exists," he said. "They don't write it down. They don't log time. They don't use force." "What do they use?" the agent asked. "Nothing," Jason said. "That's the point." The agent nodded slowly. "Who ordered it?" Jason swallowed. "A consultant named Evan Cole." The agent wrote the name down. "Anyone else?" Jason nodded. "Everyone who looked the other way." Hours later, Evan Cole was let out of East Ridge in handcuffs. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. Cole kept his head high. "This was authorized," he said. "You don't understand the system." An agent leaned close. "We understand enough." Over the next days, more doors opened. Hidden units were found in other facilities. Records were uncovered. Videos leaked. Men came forward with stories of endless light and endless quiet. Some cried. Some couldn't speak at all. Rachel stood at a podium days later, reporters packed in front of her. "This wasn't about safety," she said. "It was about control." Megan stood beside her. "Silence is not rehabilitation," she added. "It's harm." Jason watched from the back of the room, his badge gone, his future unclear. But for the first time, he felt lighter. Daniel Carter was moved to a different facility. One with windows. One with clocks. On his first night there, he slept in darkness. He woke up crying. Rachel visited him weeks later. "They asked me what I want," Daniel said quietly. Rachel smiled. What did you say? Daniel thought for a moment. I said I want people to know, he said. So it doesn't happen again. Rachel squeezed his hand. As the cameras faded and the headlines moved on, one truth stayed behind. The punishment had never been written down, but now it had been seen. And if you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Subscribe so you don't miss it. They never called it torture. There was no policy with that word written on it. No rulebook page that explained how silence could be used as a weapon. No public report that admitted what really happened behind those doors with no numbers. Instead, they used softer words. Compliance, correction, behavioral control. But for the men who went inside those rooms, the truth was simple. Silence was the punishment. No clocks to tell you time was passing. No darkness to let your mind rest. No voices to remind you that you still existed. Just light and quiet. And yourself. Daniel Carter survived, but he did not come back the same. Many others never got the chance to tell their stories at all. Some are still inside the system, living normal prison days, carrying the memory of rooms the state still refuses to fully admit were real. And that is the part that should make you uncomfortable. Because these units were not created by accident. They were designed, approved, funded, and hidden in plain sight, inside institutions meant to uphold the law. No bruises meant no proof. No screams meant no witnesses. No records meant no responsibility. Until someone talked. Until someone counted. Until someone refused to stay silent. The story didn't end when the cameras left. It didn't end when the arrests were made. It didn't end when the headlines faded. Systems like this don't disappear. They evolve. They move. They rename themselves. And somewhere, right now, a light may still be on in a room with no window, waiting for someone to forget what day it is. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.